Mega is an improvised satire from the staff of a fictional megachurch.
Hiya, I'm Hallie Levant, and this is Mega, coming to you from Twin Hills Community Church, where every single week we're giving our mega church a tiny family feel. We love to introduce you to members of our church staff and people from our community, and I always find it to be a treat and a treasure. And per usual, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the youth pastor for our high school ministry called Climax. Please welcome Gray Haas.
Jesus is the rock, and he rolls my sins away, Hallie. And I think we're going to be hearing a little bit more about rocks today with our next guest.
That's right. Just like Peter was the rock on which Jesus built the church, our guest today has a rock on which he built some grips and is going to let you scurry on up. It is my pleasure to introduce to you leader of the Sinai Grip faith-based climbing wall. It's our friend Camilo Sanchez. How you doing today, Camilo?
Oh my God, I feel so blessed. I'm feeling so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, what a treat.
Well, Camilo, as Hallie has intimated, you are leading one of the coolest things that has gone into our amazing church complex. Tell us a little bit about Sinai Grip. It's our new climbing gym, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I'm the lead route setter for Sinai Grip. I'm the guy that you talk to if you want, hey, can I get more crimps? Can I get more slopers? I'm the guy.
Amazing.
I was walking by the church and I noticed that there was an empty wall. And to me, empty anything is a sin.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? Isn't
That's
that
right.
right?
You have an entrepreneurial spirit. You saw a blank wall and you saw it for what it could be, which was a bunch of faith-based people scaling that thing like Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
Awesome.
But Spider-Man has superpowers. I guess our superpower is Christ.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah,
I mean, just even when you put it that way, I'm like, he is a superpower, isn't he?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's how I like to see it.
Well, and and just to continue to take the metaphor a little bit further, aren't we all like blank walls that Christ sees, and he puts holds on us and grips on us?
Wow.
And I think that's also a metaphor that you could use. I'm just giving you that one.
That is so. I have a lot of metaphors that I use to climb already, but I love that one's a great one.
Oh, that's great. What are some of the other ones you like to use?
For sure. I like to go. I say, get up there, and if you're scared, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
I love that. And what's the metaphor exactly?
Right. The metaphor part, well, how does it go? So it goes, get up there, and if you're not scared, you're not doing it right.
If you're not right, if you're scared, but if you are scared, you're doing it wrong?
You're supposed to be scared.
Okay.
Too.
I think that speaks perfectly to the life with Christ, because honestly, a lot of times we have to put ourselves out there. We have to take leaps of faith. We have to trust, in God's plan. And I think having a climbing wall here on campus is going to be awesome for lead pastor Steve. He's going to be able to pull so many sermon illustrations from it about how, we're on our way to heaven and things try to get in our way like gravity or whatnot. But speaking of gravity, I think it's real cool what you've implemented with Sinai Grip, that you have all the grips and holds on the wall that people can scamper up, but you're not doing the ropes. Why? Because of the superpower that we have at our disposal, which is Jesus Christ. I mean, right there is enough of a sermon illustration in itself. We don't use ropes, man.
Absolutely. You do have rope climbing in other gyms, but here at Twin Hills, it's just bouldering, which is, like you mentioned, no ropes. I kind of make the routes myself. I don't give them grades. So you won't know how hard they are until you're up there. And the trick is, like I said, if you get scared, then that's good for you to do that.
Doing it right. Do you grade the climbers? Like that was an A+, that was a B-.
I do. I take some of the climbers and I talk to them in private about how I feel like they're doing.
Cool.
So I could kind of give them some tips and some pointers.
That's cool.
People love personal
Maybe
feedback.
a metaphor you could use would be hold fast to the wall, because if you hold tight to the wall, the rock, which is Jesus, then you'll never fall. I think that's a pretty cool metaphor.
That's a really good one. I have a lot of metaphors that I already use. So I think that's really good.
Okay, any other ones that you've used that you like?
Other ones that I use, for sure. I mentioned the scared one, right?
You mentioned, if you're not scared, you're not doing it right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also, right. Okay. Because, falling is a factor. I don't know if we've talked about that yet.
Oh, is that a metaphor?
I thought we were moving on. So falling
Oh.
is a factor so when you get up there, a lot of gyms have, they have cushions, they have pads. So
Right.
part of what makes Sinai Grip a little different is we are the pads. We are the.
So that's not a metaphor. You're literally the pads.
No, yes, exactly. Oh, and I already have a metaphor for that too. But yes,
what's that one?
So we have the people wait. So when you climb,
Mm-hmm.
you are now in the hands of God, and you're the hands of the community too.
Awesome.
And gravity, being the real factor that it is,
Yes.
can take you down sometimes. That's part of it.
So have you caught people with your bare hands falling right out
Absolutely.
of the sky? Awesome.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. And so is the metaphor that maybe we'll circle back to what the metaphor is. But, one thing that I would love to talk about is how did you get so interested in climbing? Because, I will say one of the most definitive experiences of my life was, when I was a teenager, I went on a Young Life trip. Actually, that is where I first met Steve, who was,
so cool.
speaking at the Young Life conference. I did see one of my climbing instructors die, and that was hugely impactful on me. And one of the coolest parts was Steve used it as an awesome teaching moment. And when you see,
do you mind if I cut you off? How shortly after this person died before he used that as a teaching moment?
Right there that day, actually, and which was great because, and it wasn't even the weird thing is, guys, he was a climbing instructor for the Young Life kids. He wasn't even climbing at the time. We were at the top, and he was just kind of taking us through the whole safety precaution thing. And he always used to do this funny little joke where he would go, kind of act like he was falling.
Yeah.
At the top of the ledge. And I guess on this day, he actually did. And we saw that rope vanish right through the carabiner or whatever you call it. And then we're all going, okay, when's he going to pop his head back over and just go psych or whatever? But he didn't. And
you saw his body?
I saw his body vanish. Actually, unfortunately, the fall was such a high fall that his body couldn't be recovered it kind of, I hate to use the word, but it exploded basically
and sort of evaporated. There was no body.
There was no.
No body, no crime.
Well, there was no crime, Hallie. I'm not saying there was a crime.
It was an accident. It sounds like
it was more of a bit gone wrong.
Right. No. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's interesting that he taught you guys the safety precautions up on the top.
Yeah. Is that not what you do?
Well, typically you do all the safety stuff before you get up to the very top, but I see what he.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We were rappelling, I guess, mostly, so we would start at the top and go to the.
Of course.
Yeah,
still doesn't make sense why you do that.
Yeah,
so late into the.
And speaking to like what your whole thing is, there was no one at the bottom to catch him. I'm sure if there was someone at the bottom to catch him, they would also be exploded.
Maybe
because
exploded
honestly, you're reaching terminal velocity at these type of heights that we were doing. But,
that's what the Coast Guard says. Better one person explode than two.
That's right. That's the Coast Guard motto.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, I guess, this is a long way of saying I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience around climbing. And I wanted to know, how did you get into it? What was it? What was the thing how did you find your calling with climbing?
I can tell you, growing up, a neighbor of mine, it's kind of weird too, because it also has to do with someone passing away, but a neighbor of mine, he was an older gentleman.
Okay.
And he passed away in his house.
Okay.
And we didn't really know that he died for a while. As that,
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens with older folks. They don't have anyone.
Yep.
So this was a couple of years after he died. And we were making sure we were, as a neighborhood, trying to clean out his house, right? And I was 8, and I got into his VHSs.
Oh,
yes. And there was a lot of material there, but one of them was Cliffhanger.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that a movie? That's a movie. I think.
is that a movie with Dwayne Johnson?
No, this is Sylvester Stallone.
I love Sylvester Stallone. I don't really like his movies, but I like what he
He's got
seems
great
like
politics,
he stands for.
yeah.
Yeah. This is before I even knew how cool of a guy he was.
Yeah.
But I would honestly check this movie out. Cliffhanger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I watched it it was the summertime. I watched that movie and some other movies that he had probably like 66 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I just a real quick word of caution to you, Camilo. When you're going through VHS tapes, you got to be really careful because people will film anything when they have a recorder at their access, and a lot of times there will be dirty porno on VHS tapes, and you pop that thing in thinking that who knows what it's going to be.
How do you know this, Hallie? I don't. What?
Well, because one of my daughters worked at remember when there was a place called Blockbuster?
Yeah. I used to work at a Blockbuster.
Is that right?
Really?
What Blockbuster did you work at?
It was Twinkies.
Oh,
we called it the Twinkies.
Yeah, the one right next to the Hostess Factory down on Keystone at the Crossing, huh? That's
Exactly
the
right.
exact one she worked at. That's amazing.
Wait,
And,
was there a Blockbuster in the like? How long ago was this? How old's your daughter?
well, it only closed,
Is that impossible?
I don't know.
well, it only closed 3 years ago.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
They hadn't done any business in over a decade.
It was the
because-
last Blockbuster.
Yeah, because
It's community funded.
That's right. They had kept it afloat. But what happened, and not many people know that the reason Blockbusters went out of business is because what people would do is they would rent the movies, and then what they would do is with their home recording equipment, they would film their own dirty pornos. These husbands and wives trying to keep things spicy would film themselves doing it, and then they would return the dirty tape to these poor Blockbuster employees.
And your daughter would be, your daughter would be watching these.
Well, I mean, she would see the first few seconds and then avert her eyes and immediately take it to the manager. Did you have the same thing, Camilo?
Yeah, that's part of the quality control. That's the QC. You have to check out whenever you got a tape returned to you, you have to kind of go and scan yourself. But I remember these couples too, because sometimes they would come in. So this is the weirdest part about it. You'd come in and they'd try to ask kind of leading questions like, so did anyone say anything about, what was it? At the time, I think it was like Cars 2. They're like, did anyone say anything about Cars 2, which is a kid's movie too? And so you're like kind of getting the idea. It's like, okay, were you messing with these videos? You little creepos?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So
Wait, should we do a which daughter really quick?
I don't think.
I'm trying to think of what it could be.
No, let's just keep going.
Okay.
The thing is, I'm curious about. So you watched Cliffhanger, and that's when you were young. And then, what did you do in between the time that you watched Cliffhanger so many times in the old dead guy's house, and then, or did you watch it there in the house?
No, we weren't allowed to keep some of the stuff that we cleared out. So that was one of the things that I took.
Okay, got it. And so what did you do in between the time of watching at age of 8 Cliffhanger? At some point, working at a Blockbuster Video. How did you get? What was your whole climbing thing up until that point?
Well, see, back then they didn't have indoor climbing gyms like they have now. So I would have to do a lot of the stuff myself. I hung around that guy's house until well after they couldn't sell that thing for a very long time. There was an odor there, so I.
Oh, right.
They didn't discover it, and he was a corpulent man, to put it lightly.
Well, I think that's actually the opposite of lightly, but
That's not funny. That's actually fucked up.
That's the thing, Camilo, is that Gray, because he's from Australia, he doesn't get comedy. He doesn't even know when he's trying to be funny.
no, I don't.
Oh.
Well, so was he like some sort of skeleton or something by the time you actually, got to him? And so you go into a house, age of 8. I'm just trying to get a picture here. The whole neighborhood couldn't find the old man.
No, well, right, the whole neighborhood.
Okay, so all the kids in the neighborhood got together to get into the house. How did you get into the house?
I lied and I kicked a soccer ball over the fence on purpose so I can get it. So that gave me kind of like a reason to be in there.
Okay.
And then I went in there and he had a pool.
Well, how did you get in though?
Oh.
His door was just open?
Oh no, he's just in the yard at this point,
Oh,
right?
I'm
He's
in the
looking
yard.
at the pool.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in the pool, and it's green. And there's just a lot of rodents. There's just a lot of living, a lot of dead animals floating on top and the bottom too. Some lizards.
Oh my!
And
Of the
then
pool?
in the pool still.
Okay.
I'm just focusing on the pool.
Okay.
Oh wow!
Because it was hot and we wanted to use it. And then I decided that I should kick the soccer ball into. He had a large glass door, and I kicked it hard enough to break that.
Oh,
Wow.
To kind of keep it up, that little lie that I was
Sounds
doing.
You
really
got
good
a
at
good
soccer.
leg
Yeah.
on you. Yeah, you could be yeah.
Thanks. I didn't really even think about it like that, but kicked it. I broke that glass. It was an odor now that I really can't get out of my head. It was putrid.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I think at that point, I didn't really tell anyone about it for a little bit. I kind of kept it my own secret. But after 2 years, I started telling people about what I saw.
And I'm sure the scent started to make its way through the neighborhood.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm trying to really understand here. So, you and I hate to bring you back to this memory because it's clear that it has some effect on you. But what did you actually see once you got in there before you got into all the tapes and whatnot?
Well, I saw like just a mass of white and pink goo, just kind of overflowing over a couch. I think he died on a couch, and it looked like a melted candle. Like if you melted a
Sure.
red candle and a white candle, and those two kind of dripped together.
I mean, I hate to say it, but this is almost exactly what I saw when the climbing leader, eventually when they found him. It was very similar candle-like appearance of whatever was left.
That's exactly right. And
Yeah.
if you think about it, we're all just white and red on the inside, and pink, and some brown stuff too.
Now, and sorry, just to go back to this, but so you see all the candle goo on the couch, and at that point you're going, I gotta look through some videotapes.
Well, yeah. Well, so after I kind of kept this a secret for a while. For, like I said, 2 years, I kept this man because I was a small child. I didn't know what I saw. And
You didn't tell anybody about
I
it.
didn't tell anyone for 2 years.
You didn't even tell the authorities about it.
No, I couldn't, because I felt bad about breaking his door.
Yeah.
It's probably, somebody comes, the cops show up and they're going to see the broken window with the soccer ball and the dead guy. They're going to be like, this kid did it.
Sure.
They see a little brown kid with a soccer ball, and they're gonna ask questions.
Right.
I wasn't even thinking like that when I was a kid, but yeah, I kept it a secret to myself. I kind of made that my own little hideout, and then I kind of got caught.
Well, you made it your own little hideout, like you'd go and hang out in there again.
Yes. No. I would go there after school. I would just that was like my own little house. I played house in there.
Did the smell get better, or was it that like the neighborhood cats came in and just finished off the rest of what was left of the waxy body? Because cats will do that, and they say if you think you're gonna die alone, you should get a cat or two, because what they'll do is once they know you're good and dead, they'll go ahead and eat you, which
Ellie.
is better for you to be found and not have an offensive odor. It's sort of as lucky as being able to disintegrate, like climbing or falling off of a climbing wall and just disintegrating. Boom, straight to heaven. Kind of nice.
I've heard that too about the cats. It just, to me, it seems like that's a lateral move. If a cat's gonna eat you, it's gonna turn your body into cat turd, which isn't a pleasant smell as well.
Good
Right.
point.
Well,
Good point.
Yeah, you don't have to say it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just getting I'm just getting the whole picture because, as we like to say on this podcast, and this is a metaphor. We don't interview the full person. A person is made up of many pieces of amazing fabric. So the metaphor that we use here is, a person is like a patchwork quilt, and your experiences are like the patches, and all those patches are knit together by Jesus to make the story of the quilt that you are today. So I just don't want to gloss over stuff, from your childhood. And I guess I'm still wondering where rock climbing comes in, because we really haven't even touched on that at all.
Yeah, of course. Well, I saw the Cliffhanger, right? And
Okay, yeah, we
that's
covered
kind
that.
of, yeah. And I saw that, and that's where I was like, I must dedicate my life to. Well, I wanted to be. I don't know if you didn't watch it, but he becomes himself. He's like a mountain rescuer guy. So that's
Okay.
exactly what I wanted to do, and I was training for that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But then you were working at Blockbuster.
yeah.
Okay. This is, Hallie, isn't it wonderful to talk to someone who had this tough thing happen, but then even in the darkness, God showed up and showed him something that he was interested in,
Yes.
and then pursued. I guess sort of pursued, up until now.
He moves in mysterious ways. I mean, people get saved from all the most amazing ways. People get saved in prison, but people get saved in hotel rooms when they reach over into the drawer of the nightstand and find a Bible sitting there. And they were like, you know what? I was going to watch a dirty Pam Anderson movie, and instead I'm going to read this Bible. Next thing you know, they get to go to heaven. And if I might offer you a word basket of encouragement, Camilo, like, I wouldn't beat yourself up about letting time pass and being afraid. You told a little white lie, but it was because you wanted to help your neighbor. That's what I call a Corey Ten Boom lie. Some lies are for the greater good. And it just even makes us realize how incredible Steve is as our lead pastor, that in the face of a dead body, he can immediately turn it into a teaching tool, because tragedy plus time equals, well, I guess.
Well, that's comedy.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, tragedy plus time could also equal just learning.
uh-huh.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish now as an adult I could stumble upon his body, because I feel like
Really?
knowing what I know now.
Oh, really? So you do that all again? Would you get in the same way?
No. Well, I'd be kind of curious. I haven't kicked a soccer ball in a very long time, so I want to see if I could still do that.
Okay.
But
So you'd have to practice for a while.
Yeah. I'd probably just use the front door. Honestly, I'd probably like dress up like an Amazon Prime guy and just kind of go in through the front door.
But you still have to break the door down, I think.
Okay. I could think of something else, I think.
It just seems, and I hate to, pull apart this idea, but it just seems like if you're an Amazon Prime guy breaking through a front door, somebody's probably going to call the police.
Well, it could, right, but it could be, I could also be saying something like there was instructions, because sometimes they have special instructions on deliveries.
Right.
And, they say if you don't, I could see myself getting in trouble and be like, no, I was allowed to kick this door.
Yeah, it just all seems a bit complicated. I am married.
Yes, I'm married.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. And what is your wife like?
Emily, she's incredible. I met her in the neighborhood. I met her actually in the neighborhood and then Blockbuster. So,
Really?
Yes.
Was she one of the kids that was asking about the body, etc.?
That's how we eventually went back to that house. We would go to that house together when we were kids, but it's fine.
Wait, so you would so you would go into the house after you found the body and the candle wax and all this and watch the cliffhanger, then you would take Emily back there with you to go hang out in your little house with the body.
Yeah. That was the idea. Well, that's where you never know where you're gonna fall in love with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that true?
Yeah. Now, does Emily have any problems with you climbing with no ropes? Is she like, well, geez, Camilo, I don't want you to hit the ground at a high velocity and disintegrate, and then I got no husband?
That's I mean, I think she does, definitely, but I always try to remind her, if you're not scared, then you aren't
doing it wrong.
Then you aren't doing it.
So she's doing it right.
Yeah, if you're scared. And I'm talking to her now. If you are scared, then I'm doing it.
Okay, you're talking about climbing now, right?
Yes. No, yeah, okay. For sure. But it applies to a lot of different aspects of my life. Marriage is scary.
For sure.
Is it? So, okay, I wouldn't know.
It can be. Absolutely.
Okay, so just to go back to the rock climbing for a second. And we should highlight this, I think, to anybody here at Twin Hills, which is, yes, the climbing wall doesn't have ropes,
Right.
And it's a faith-based climbing wall.
That's right.
And some people would call that bouldering, but our climbing wall is how high is the wall that you've built here?
Oh, we get
Camilo?
that. It's 150 feet.
150
Yeah, it's the
feet.
side of, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the whole side of the Biannex wall, and no pads, and just Camilo and some of his little buddies down there, hoping to catch you if you fall. But have you had any falls?
I can't. Yeah, every day there's going to be a fall.
There are
Yes,
there are
plenty.
falls. I
Yeah.
didn't think there was one. Okay.
No, there's going to be falls, but we catch each other, of course. And I always encourage my climbers to go up there with a marker, keep it in your back pocket, and just kind of mark where your kind of personal goal, you know, your personal record, your PRs. So we have a bunch of. It's kind of like looking at a giant's dad, just kind of marking on the top of his little kid's head and seeing how tall they go, because we're just going taller and taller.
I mean, it's almost like God is saying, stand up against the wall and let me put a mark and see how much you've grown in your faith. Isn't that a cool metaphor that I just came
That's a cool
up with?
metaphor.
I have a lot of metaphors.
Yeah, what are some of the other ones? Because I'm still kind of circling, trying to figure out like if there's a good one.
And I want to make sure everyone has their own marker, their own colored marker, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you could have the PR and you could kind of see, for instance, mine's red. So you can see my little red marks going all the way up the wall.
Oh,
Okay, but that's not a metaphor. You actually have a real marker.
It's a red marker, and I buy them in bulk, and I bring them myself. So,
how did you come up with the name Sinai Grip?
Awesome.
I was thinking about Jesus and his Sermon on the Mount.
Yes.
And if I was there, and if I was among the people, and I would probably say to myself, like, I got to see this guy. I want to see him. I want to see my Lord. How would I do that? If I was in that position,
Right.
I'd probably climb. I'd probably climb somewhere up higher to get a good view.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And you're saying Mount Sinai must have been higher than where Jesus was for certain.
Just climb something.
Right.
If there's a tree, I'd climb that. If there was a boulder, and we don't boulder, but if there was a boulder, I'd climb that boulder on top just to get that good vantage view.
Well, think about how cool it is, Camilo, that if you're on the climbing wall, let's say you're up 125, 135 feet up there, almost to the top. Let's say you're up there when Jesus returns. You'll be shooting up towards heaven faster than everybody else. You'll get to the pearly gates 135 feet before the rest of us, and you'll be able to be like, come on, guys, this is awesome. Look at us. You'll be one of the first people shooting through the stratosphere toward heaven. And, my son, Day, he's a teenager, always giving me guff, and he asks me what in the heck I mean by the fact that we're all going to ascend, whether from a climbing wall or from the comfort of our own beds. When Jesus returns, we're all going to start shooting up through the sky. And my son says, well, where are we going, Mom? Because at this point, we don't have a 3-tiered view of the universe the way the biblical writers did. Like, now we have satellites and we know that the earth is a sphere. We know what is outside of the earth's atmosphere. Where particularly is heaven inside our galaxy, Milky Way, universe, whatever. And that's about where I just tell him to zip it. And then I take his iPhone for a week for, talking back. But I say, Day, it's heaven will, it's miracle. It's miraculous, right? We will just start shooting into the sky because the Bible says that. And then we will be in heaven. I don't know if it's like the way the Challenger shoots off and at what point we drop an engine.
Maybe not Challenger, but
yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, and do you dream of ascending to heaven from the climbing wall?
That's such a good point. I like to think of, because I think Day does have a point. The earth is an orb.
Okay.
And I think heaven takes the shape of that same orb. Just miles above it, right? So it's kind of like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It becomes its own layer. Heaven becomes its own layer in the universe.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never thought
That's
about that.
better than science. I mean, this is
orb
fact.
heaven.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's really, there's probably a metaphor for that too, of, like heaven.
And I do think that if I were to climb, I would be getting closer to heaven anyway. So I just, and yeah, that is kind of like maybe like yeah, that's kind of like the ultimate metaphor.
Yeah.
Climbing to heaven is.
Yeah.
The orb. I was talking more about the orb
Oh, I see.
of the orb. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there a type of activity right now that's going on at the climbing wall that you really want to key people into? Because I know you go down, you take small groups up the wall,
Yep.
you'll take visitors.
Yep.
What are you all doing to really get people into climbing? Because I know people are afraid of heights, aren't they? And without
Absolutely.
a rope, without just climbing by faith alone, this could be a bit intimidating. Is there anything that you can point to get people ready to go up there?
Yeah, I'm always trying ways. I mean, I'm pretty lucky because it's already kind of a popular group automatically, but I'm thinking about different ways. I'm thinking about doing a night climb. You have to come in, you have to have
Ooh.
kind of like a little headlamp.
Ooh.
That doesn't make people less scared, but
Oh, yeah.
I think that's something that's going to be fun and exciting.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you can't, I mean, maybe a night climb without the headlamp, because Hallie, sometimes I do this with my teens, where I will give an awesome talk about how perception is everything, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll say, "Can you walk across this plank on the floor with your eyes closed?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, totally." And then I'll put the plank up between a couple of ladders 12 feet off the air, and I'll say, "Now do it again." And people won't do it because they're going, "No, I'm scared." And I'm saying, "Guys, if you can walk across the board on the ground, you can walk across it in between two
You
ladders."
just did it.
Of course, we did try that once, and I didn't account for kind of the flex in the board, which is a
Right.
little bit different.
And
But
the ladder gets wobbly up top.
the
too.
ladder, yeah. But what I'm saying is, if you can walk across a board here, you can walk across a board there, and isn't that a great teaching tool when it comes to just Jesus in our lives? A lot of times, without Jesus, we're going, "Hey, I'm walking between two ladders right now on a board that's really flexy, and the ladders keep tipping over." And with Jesus, you're walking on that board on the floor because He keeps us grounded, and that is a great metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a no, I don't actually think that's a great metaphor.
Well,
Again, I have there's a lot of different things that you can take and learn, and I have already a lot of metaphors that I use for Sinai grip.
Well, they're
But thank
endless.
you.
They're
I do appreciate
endless.
it. Yeah, they
Even
really
just
are.
the faith-based thing of no ropes, the community aspect of if you fall, we will catch you. The even strategizing what your next hold is going to be. That could be, the equivalent of a Christian trying to keep their mind pure. A man who doesn't look at girls' butts. Like that could be the next thing you're working on, the next hold type of thing. It's endless, and I think that's what makes Twin Hills so excellent and better than all churches, frankly, is that we've got a gosh darn climbing wall that has endless metaphors that can be used for sermon illustrations. And what's better than that?
That's such a good point, Hallie. Your metaphors seem to be just a little bit more just precise. And I think that's probably why I'm kind of gravitating a little bit more towards them. But yeah,
than mine? Mine, I thought, what? Mine was really precise.
So the grips, we didn't talk about the actual grips that I'm using.
Okay.
Well, I actually work with some of the ceramics.
Oh, the ceramic ministry? That's cool. Yeah.
I work with the ceramic ministry, and
the Jars of Clay ministry.
They're awesome.
That's
right. I love that.
They're awesome.
And I get some of their scraps. I tell them about different little things that I want to be made, custom made for me for grips.
Oh, cool.
And that's got to be interesting because ceramic, as far as I understand it, is much more fragile than rock. Yeah. And so, are these grips prone to break or shatter or disintegrate in your hands?
Yeah, I've encountered every single one of those, but that's kind of part of the climb too, because you don't want to be so confident when you climb. You want to be, like I said, you want to be kind of scared because that's right.
There it is again. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if that's a metaphor as much as it is kind of a saying that you have, and I'm not even sure if you've quite landed on it, have you?
The grips and handholds. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So it's actually something. No, it's a metaphor. But what you're doing is every once in a while, yes, a grip is going to break, and yes, it's going to shard off and it's going to cut you. That is what you're really learning is that no matter what happens, when you come back down, hopefully in one piece, when you come back down, your community is going to be there for you.
That's right.
There's one. I can really get behind that one.
There's one what?
Metaphor.